Hello and welcome to yet another TV review podcast. My name is Michael. Thank you very much for downloading. In this podcast, as with all the recent podcasts, I'm going to talk about some new TV shows and one that I've been watching for a few weeks, but I think I've pretty much given up on, maybe, possibly, based on what I saw tonight. First off, I want to talk about Journeyman. Journeyman is a new series from NBC. It's a fantasy series. It will air after Heroes, so they're obviously trying to capture the Heroes audience. I don't like Heroes, but I like Journeyman. A lot of people online have compared it to Quantum Leap, but that's just because it features time travel. A lot of shows feature time travel, Time Cop, Time Tunnel, Voyagers, Time Slip. Quantum Leap wasn't the first nor best to feature time travel. It was probably the longest running and most high profile, and that's a comparison, therefore, that just annoys the heck out of me. Journeyman isn't like Quantum Leap in tone, in mechanics, and in fact it's like none of the other time travel shows. It features a journalist. He goes to work one day and wakes up in 1987. He does a couple of things, meets a person who's potentially committing suicide or attempting to commit suicide, and then he walks home and he's back in the present day with his wife and his child. He's been away, I think, for 2 days. This first time he disappears, his wife is just a little bit incredulous as to his story. He's missed work and he's in some trouble. He's had a history, this guy, of drug abuse, I think, and people think he's having a relapse. The pilot continues. He's driving his car again. He disappears. He's gone back to the 1990s. Again, he's intertwined. His fate is intertwined with the same man who attempted to commit suicide. And it's obvious that he's been brought back in time, unknown to himself, and thrust into this man's life for some reason. And he investigates. Every time he returns to 2007, he investigates the life of the man and learns a little bit more about him. Complicating things somewhat, he's also crossing paths with his brother, himself, and most important, his ex-girlfriend who died before he got married. And she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but I think in the resulting series she will play a big part. The pilot works. The pilot's very, very good. The best thing about the pilot might be the marriage, might be the wife, the way the character is written and the way the actress plays it. She's very compelling. A lot of TV wives fall into two categories. They fall into the unsupporting, confused, accusing, aggressive. Maybe that's just all the same category. They just fall into this. I don't understand you. Your job. You're a doctor. You're a detective. You're a cop. You're whatever. You're always away. So they're nagging and they're unsupportive. That's the way they're written. This wife is completely confused about her husband, his absence. She's fighting for her marriage, but she's not written to annoy the viewer. She's written in a very sympathetic way. She gets as many scenes as the star of the show, maybe more, and we're with her on her journey. And the show is really about a man's struggle to keep his marriage alive, I think. Certainly the pilot is. It's about convincing his wife that he's not back on drugs and he's not lying, he's not cheating. And it's very, very good. The ending of the pilot focuses on the married couple. It's the best ending I've seen on any of the pilots this year. It's a great ending, and very, very, very enjoyable pilot. Adult fantasy, if I can use that term. Not in any way disrespecting other fantasy shows. This is a show that's quite dark as well. It's like True Calling in some respects. It's quite dark. I'm very impressed with this pilot. Very impressed. Really enjoyed it. And really looking forward to episode 2. Really looking forward to episode 2. This pilot leaps to the top of the list behind Pushing Daisies, behind Sarah Connor Chronicles. It's miles ahead of Bionic Woman and Reaper and Chuck, but it's not getting. Maybe because maybe it skews older. Maybe it's just not as cool. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to be generating the sort of buzz that the other shows are. Chuck has a lot of buzz. Bionic Woman, huge amount of interest on the internet. Reaper, yeah, huge amount of interest as well. But Journeyman to me is excellent and better, higher quality, more interesting than those other shows. Moving on, the second pilot, second new show, Life. Life is about a quirky cop. He is quirky. He talks to suspects in a strange way. He seems at odds with the real world and items and things and that we take for granted in everyday life. He spouts Zen-like quotes. He he's just an oddball, quirky cop, like Monk or Columbo or The Closer or any number of other cops that we've seen on TV. His backstory is different. The backstory is he was a cop. He was sent to prison for 12 years, sentenced to life, and then it was all overturned and he got back out again. That's the reason behind his behaviour modification. Um, but strip away the few scenes in the pilot that tell us about his background. It's just another cop show. It's a man, it's a woman, it's like Criminal Intent or something. He's brilliant, but he's quirky, he's different. He's doing things his way. His partner doesn't quite know what to make of him. She's very suspicious at the start, but by the end of the pilot, she's pretty much come round, we see, through other stuff that's going on. There's a bit of a conspiracy backstory as well. Strip away these scenes, and you've got a very ordinary, quirky cop show. It was good. The cast was good. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't be rushing back to see episode 2. If there was nothing else on TV, maybe, yeah, but it's a crowded TV schedule. There's a lot of good shows on, and this didn't make an impression on me. It's a good cast, it's well written, but it's ordinary. It's grade B stuff all along the way. That's just it. Moving on. Comedy. Comedy that started weeks ago, and I saw it weeks ago, but I keep neglecting to mention it. I Hate My 30s is a new situation comedy series, an ensemble comedy series set in an office. There's about 8, 9, I think, in the regular cast. Some of the people on camera work behind the camera as well, and possibly the only one that's of interest or of note is the actor who played the kid on Mr. Belvedere in the 1980s, which was a very good sitcom. I really enjoyed Mr. Belvedere. And there's a nice Mr. Belvedere in-joke in this opening episode of I Hate My 30s. The episode I watched, the first episode weeks and weeks ago, revolved around one of the characters having a birthday and entering her 30s. They're all in the 30s, they work together by and large. And she's not happy about turning 30. None of them seem to be that happy about their 30s. The show didn't have any jokes. It didn't make me laugh. It's attempting to be a lot of things. It's attempting to be wacky. There's an animated character who appears on screen with the live action characters at the end of the episode. Isn't part of the main story, but they interact with this cartoon character in a segment that I presume is meant to be regular and probably has continued ever since. So that's kind of the tone they're aiming for. But it wasn't funny ultimately. The Caveman pilot wasn't funny either, but it seemed to me to have its heart in the right place. It seemed like an interesting, idea-driven show. I Hate My 30s has an idea as well, but it's not as interesting an idea, and it's not very well executed as far as I could see. Another quibble I had with the pilot was that it all seemed to be shot in the same studio, which seems like a redundant comment because every sitcom, that's a live act, 3-camera sitcom is shot in the studio. Seinfeld was. But on Seinfeld or Mary Tyler Moore or any of the others, when you moved from Mary's living room or Jerry's living room to another set, a restaurant for instance, you believed, suspension of disbelief, it looked different, it was lit different, you believed you were in a different location. I Hate My 30s didn't have that going for it. The whole thing, there was a meal at a restaurant and then some of it was at the office, but it all looked like the office. It was like the last few episodes of She-Wolf of London, which was a brilliant, brilliant show, but I think at the end of that run, the last few episodes were produced in America and they seem to have been produced in a house. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I don't know what the budget problems were, if there were. I know there were problems with one of the producing companies pulling out and stuff.